Welcome, software engineers, to day 8 of CSC 222 Software Engineering. It's good to see you. I hope that you actually, it was the weekend, right? I couldn't tell. I played golf at Pebble Beach over the weekend. I played that course on Xbox. That's totally different. I used a full spectrum lamp to simulate sunlight. I got fresh air. You should get a house that has windows. They're terrific. Okay, there's something funny about that, I think. Hopefully, it's not too close to home. Folks, last week, assignment 7, that's the date that was correct. We talked about that last week. Assignment 7 was due. The vast majority of you did very well with that. Let me say, if you got some feedback that said it didn't quite cut it, I would encourage you to correct it, because we're going to have several more of these, and you notice that 2 built upon 1. Guess what? 3, we'll talk a little about today, is going to build on 2, and so it goes. Just point out a couple of general things, questions or comments, and especially feedback that I gave, just so everybody can hear that. I showed you this is how I put it together. Now, this is not indicating that this is the only correct way, but a good user experience aligns the user interface with how users perceive solving problems. The vast majority of us perceive solving problems from top to bottom or left to right. In the mobile world, most people are holding their phones this way, which makes really stupid videos. You know, I mean, I hold my phone this way for pictures and videos. People, what is that? Yeah, I know on many, okay, sorry. So top to bottom, left to right. Use your command button to separate the input from the output. There's a single piece of input data. Here's our main command button, separating the one piece of input from the 2 pieces of output. Now, where you have these other command buttons, doesn't matter too much, except for the fact if they're too close to your main command button, then they can be pushed accidentally, which won't be a problem if we help resolve that, but that's a discussion for later. So notice I have them moved down there. Now you're wondering, what is this? This semi-highlighted one will be my message center. So if there is an error, I'll put it there rather than the pop-up. My help didn't really work. It was just a menu item. Thinking about the user experience with a good user interface is an important part of software engineering. It helps us understand and refine the requirements and the specifications. Now, of course, the other part is, how do I do all this stuff? All right, so there were the specifications. Now, a couple of things I shared with folks who asked, well, how do I set the focus there? Well, there's a number of different ways of doing it. You can do it on the form. You can do it programmatically as it is here. There's some advantages to doing it programmatically, especially if you have a method that is called all the time, or if you put this at the beginning of a number of methods. This is kind of nice. Every once in a while, I didn't want there to be misunderstandings. Hopefully I explained it well enough. Undo and clear are actually functions that work on your running totals. You need to have 2 running totals now. A running total that handles the weight and a running total that handles the count. And in your undo, which to me was the last, it's the Control Z type of thing, Command Z on the Mac, undo the last input value. You had to remember this, and you had to subtract it from the running total, and you had to decrement the count also. Now, clear, you would reset those values to 0. Clear or reset does just that. It's going to set these back to 0. In addition, you should clear out your text boxes. One way we saw that, and I demonstrated this for everybody beforehand, is just write a blank into a text box. That clears it out. Other ways, you bet. Okay. And then the menu strip thing, it looks like most people figured that out without problem. I want to move away from assignment 7, but if you have questions specifically, contact me, send me a message. We need to schedule a time or do something else. I need to give you something. Let's do that. Speaking of that, I think a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned I contacted the IT support department at Irvine, and I asked, can students get a license for Windows? Many of you have a Mac. You want to run Windows in a VM on top of that. Can we get a license? They got right back to me and said, yes. Well, then about a week later, they said, oh, we're running into some issues here. We don't know what's going on, which I completely understand because I administer Kavutu on the hub at Mequon, and that is a quasi-Microsoft environment that allows students that are officially enrolled to get Windows, and that's kind of a hassle thing. So I'm sorry, we still don't have anything yet. Maybe by the end of the semester, you'll have that. Do not panic. This is day 8. I always just number my days. And I've shared with you, I'm kind of off because I'm not used to having that Labor Day break there. So typically odd days are the first day and even days are the second day. So anyway, day 10, a week from today, is exam number 1. You'll find some information about the exam online. I got to see if you got, we'll look in just a minute. You can see the study guide, or that's set to release in September of 2024. The other thing that happened is an assignment released early with the Mythical Man Month. I don't know. 1 week from today is exam number 1. The exam consists of true, false, multiple choice, and a few, like 3 short answer questions. The exam will be open book and notes. It will be closed neighbor. Don't work with anybody. Don't share the information with anybody else. And closed online resources. Let's face it, Wikipedia is all wrong anyway. It won't help you. Now, you're saying, well, open book and notes, how hard can it be? It's also timed. You don't have an unlimited amount of time to do the exam. So you need to be prepared. You need to understand the material. You need to review what we've talked about in this unit. But if a question really stumps you or throws you, or you say, oh yeah, I remember that. What was that again? You can use the book. You can use your notes. Anything from us on Blackboard is fair game. But the Blackboard exam is timed. And if you haven't done an exam on Blackboard before, a couple other things will happen. Number 1, there's no pause button. Don't say, okay, I'm going to leave for a little bit now, and then I'll come back and I'll still have 35 minutes. Nope. Don't exit out of the exam on Blackboard. If you do, Blackboard will automatically submit the exam. That's how I have it set up. So once you begin, do it. We're going to do the exam during our regularly scheduled class a week from today. Now, that's when it will be there. I'll be here at the beginning. I'll say a couple things in general, and then I'll let you have at it. If a horrible thing happens or a question comes up, I'll be around. You can ask me. Whether I answer or not will depend. Let's look at Blackboard in just a minute so I can verify that my sheet of potential questions, I know this is a question last week, is there a study guide? I don't know if it's really a study guide. It's just sort of a list of potential topics, things that were big in this class. Let's do that in a minute. Then I'll see if you got questions then. Let's review. Software engineering is defined as the management of the entire software development process. Now, warning. When I ask you this question on the exam a week from today, when I ask you, what is software engineering? You can start with this, but this is hard. This is like worth 1 out of 5 points. There's more to say. You're saying, what more could I say? Well, first of all, think in terms of what, why, and how. Fingers disappear. What? That's the what. We've said more things. Look it up. We've said more things about what software engineering is. Give me another what. Now, why? Why do we do software engineering? We've talked about a good half dozen different reasons why. I don't want all those. Find 2 good why reasons. Why do we do this? And then the third major aspect, how? How do we carry out software engineering? Again, we've talked about 6 major aspects of this. You only have to give me 2. So I know I've been hammering that software engineering is defined as the management of the entire software development process, but you know it's more than that. You've read about it. We've discussed it. So when I ask you this, please do those things also. Thank you. Oh, Do you think this could be part of the answer? What's the goal of software engineering? Solve a problem by producing an acceptable product. Who determines if the product is acceptable? The client, the user. Not us. It's the client and user that determine that the product is acceptable. I have described software engineering as professional problem solving, and I've shared with you some aspects of professionalism. Week 2 being dedicated, being civil, 3, and now beginning last, and now we're off. So weeks are kind of split. Beginning last time and ending now, being on time. Thank you. So I've been relating each of these to the 10 commandments, and I've appreciated you thinking about how these aspects of professionalism are related and writing about those in the C and CS assignments. Lots of good thoughts. Thank you for taking that seriously and just spending some time thinking about it and connecting it. If the 10 commandments are a framework for our lives, by the way, Christians, you know, the commandments are in no way meant to earn salvation, to work your way into heaven. Once you've been given the gift of salvation, the 10 commandments are just a way to demonstrate love, both to God and to other people. So it's a good ethical framework, a good moral way to live our lives. The third commandment, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy, at first glance may not seem to have a lot to do with time management, but I think you'll see what the connection is. Wally, it's 10 o'clock. You're supposed to start at 8. That's because I plan to work for 2 unverifiable hours after you leave tonight. My alleged loyalty to this company is second to none. I'm late because my car wouldn't start in the cold. It's warm outside. There's a little thing called the wind chill factor. Hello. That was so wrong on so many levels. Someday I got to get me a car. Californians, you have no idea. Wind chill? Yeah. In Wisconsin, the air temperature might be 20 below zero. But when the wind is whipping at 30 miles an hour, the wind chill makes it 45 degrees below. Luther's explanation of the third commandment might give you a little insight. And if not, just think about it a little more. Let's talk about time management, the idea of time, with a classic software engineering story. This is one of those in the annals of software engineering lore that every software engineer needs to hear about. The man who could have been Bill Gates. Do you even know who Bill Gates is? Bill Gates used to be one of the richest people on planet Earth. I think Elon Musk and others have eclipsed that. But hey, you got $100 billion. Who's counting? Bill Gates was one of the co-founders, along with Paul Allen, of Microsoft Corporation. Did you know that originally Microsoft was two words? Microsoft. And of course, Bill Gates, as founder, chair, CEO of Microsoft, built that into quite an empire. Now, this is a story. The person you see here is Dr. Gary Kildall. The legend goes like this. One fateful day in the summer of 1983, button-down IBMers called on a band of hippie programmers at DRI, located in Pacific Grove, California, my own stomping grounds on the coast. They hope to discuss licensing DRI's industry-leading operating system, CP/M. Instead, the founder, Gary Kildall, blew off IBM to gallivant around in his airplane. The frustrated IBMers turned to Gates for their operating system. What's the story here? IBM created a device, the IBM PC. They began in 1980 and they were finishing up in 1981. They created the hardware. They didn't want to create the operating system. They wanted to use something that existed already. The de facto premium operating system for small computers in the 1980s was CP/M, Control Program for Microprocessors. The company DRI and Dr. Gary Kildall were the principals there. Well, being California hippies, time wasn't a big thing. So when IBM, being the East Coast button-down types, arrived at DRI and knocked on the door, now the story is different, okay? I mean, I was actually alive during the time, and what I heard was he went hang gliding. With what I know by Dr. Kildall makes more sense than flying in his airplane. But regardless, he wasn't around. He left word. He said, hey, I'll be back. Yeah, I want to talk to him. I'll be back. But the IBM folks said, look, what? We had a meeting today at 6:30. You're not here? We're gone. We're out of here. So rather than licensing CBM and making Dr. Kildall a very rich person, they went to this little tiny company in Redmond, Washington, Microsoft. And they asked Bill Gates, hey, do you have an operating system? He said, you bet. Well, I got a great operating system, and we're going to license it to you. You want to know a secret? He didn't have an operating system. He went to another local company, and he said, hey, I'm going to give you guys $50,000 for that operating system. I said, wow, you bet. Okay. And they Microsoft tweaked it a little bit, and that became DOS or MS-DOS. Exactly. Darn. Well, is being on time important? Yes, if you're not, you too can lose billions of dollars. Okay, in all seriousness, being on time is important. Paul, in his letter to the church at Colossae, making the best use of time, unlike Dilbert. Remember to use all your vacation time before year end. Oh, I'm off next week. What? I curse you for taking time off when we have so much work to do. Die. Anyway, the point is that vacations help relieve your stress. Yeah. I worked there. Say, I really apologize if anybody actually panicked and tried to do this. It's not due until a week from now. In this course, we're going to read 3 classic articles written by the grandpapa of software engineering, Dr. Fred Brooks. The first one is called The Mythical Man Month. You should see it. We're going to go there in just a moment. I want to verify that it's sitting there on Blackboard. And then you check too, because apparently I can't tell. I want you to read it online and I want you to remember the major points. I'll tell you some of the major points and we'll review some things next time. But yeah, this is a classic software engineering article. Please don't let the term man throw you. We could substitute people for that. It is just ingrained in various formulas, the variable MM for man month, people month, person month, human being month. Yeah. A man month is the amount of time spent by one person at a time. The amount of work expended by one person in 1 month. Simple, right? Except for when it comes to software engineering, not so simple. I think I showed you this one before, but this is really the yes. If you already did the assignment with Mythical Man Month, you may resubmit it. This is the Mythical Man Month. Boss, how long will it take if I add 2 people? Add 1 month for training, 1 month for extra complexity, 1 month to deal with their drama. But after all that, they'll be as useful as this meeting. The key thesis of Fred Brooks' article is this: adding people to a late software project just makes it later. Adding people to a late software project just makes it later. Might seem counterintuitive to you, but we'll explain why that is. Everybody knows that's the case. All right. Oh, let's take a tiny detour and let's take a look at Blackboard, shall we? What's this say? C and CS3. That's due today. Okay. This week, I wonder what's due. Assignment 11, the end of the week. That looks good. That looks good. So, well, what's this future thing? Yeah, that's all good. That's all good. And I apologize that the assignment dealing with Fred Brooks, which I think might have been assignment 9, showed up as already being due. But allow me to go into content here. Let me just verify that I have, I got this horrible message from your Zoom cloud saying, we're going to delete all these videos. Well, I think I still have them there if for some strange reason. Then you might be. I mean, we've shown some code and done some other interesting things there. So I think it's all there, right? Oh, by the way, we didn't meet on September 5th, but I hate having stuff that doesn't. So there's a little video on Labor Day there. I know you saw that and said, woo, pretty impressive. So you notice that unit 1. We are here, day 8. Okay. Where's the reading? Okay. See, week 4 kind of got, week 4 actually began last Wednesday. All right. Here's the article. The myth. Oh, is it 7? I do know what 7 is, believe it or not. Where's the assignment? Well, it's down here. Where's the link to the assignment? For some reason in Irvine's incarnation of Blackboard, if I make a change to any one of these things, it drops it to the very bottom of the list, and then I have to redo it. So it is assignment 9. I apologize. There needs to be a link up there, but we'll get that up here. Read the following article. Where is it? It's back up there. State Brooks' law concisely in your own words and explain why it's true in an additional sentence or two. Yeah, see, I needed to change things. All right. We're going to come back and actually spend a little more time pouring through the Mythical Man Month beyond just what is Brooke's Law. But if you read through this, you'll come across Brooke's Law. Right? So put it in your own words. It begins in this section, the Mythical Man Month. Some of that in this section is a little hard to follow. You need to understand the differences between manufacturing, physical processes, and intellectual informational processes. We'll talk more about that, so that is understandable. And then it's gutless estimating. Okay, good. So please go through that and then ensure that, yes, it's actually due. Yeah, we need to make it due a week from today. It's not going to take that long, but you go ahead and do it and submit it by a week from today. And my fault, if you already submitted it, you may resubmit, assuming Blackboard allows that. Who knows? I'll check. Since we were pausing, do you have any questions or comments about why I can't get Blackboard to work? Or maybe more importantly, any of the assignments so far or other logistical issues? If you're more comfortable just explaining that to me, hang around after class and you can chat or talk to me directly. But any general questions, comments, or concerns right now? Before we review or finish up issues of the specification phase, why don't we play guess what might be on the exam? Now, I already told you, I'm going to ask you point blank, what is software engineering, considering the what, the why, the how? And yeah, that will be a short answer question, but you'll see that embodied in some of the true, false multiple choice also. Now, if you thought about this, I bet you could predict the future. I bet you could say, gosh, what would he ask me about? You think I'd ask about the software development lifecycle? Absolutely. That was the framework. We talked about it every day. You've read about it in every chapter. Yes, yes, yes. Now, in this first unit, we're taking a look at what we call the front end of software engineering. That is requirements and specifications. Those are the two big phases. What are the odds that I ask you questions about requirements and specifications? Answer, 100%. I'm not trying to fool you. Would you be surprised if I asked you, what's the purpose of the requirements phase? What's produced and why? Oh, you wouldn't be surprised. What's the purpose of the requirements phase? What's produced and why? Would you be surprised if I asked you the same thing about specifications? What's the purpose of the specification phase? What's produced and why? I don't think that would shock you at all. All right. I do not see my list of questions. I said they're going to be there. Probably post somewhere around here before the assignment details these questions that would be important to know for the exam. So we will do that. Note to self, do it. All righty. Keyword for the specification phase is what. If we think back to the requirements phase, the key word was why. Why is there a problem? Why is a computerized solution necessary? What does a good solution look like and do? Specification phase is all about the what's. What does a good solution look like? What does a good solution do? That's in general, that's how a user would want the answer phrased. As computer scientists, we think in terms of features and functions. Features as the out-facing, what's on my user interface, giving me the user experience. Functions on the inward algorithms. So, undo is a feature and a function. There's a button that says undo. Does that make sense? That word, is there a better word? Where should that button be? That's the feature aspect. The function is just what most of you did and just what I showed you. Subtract the last input from the running total, reset the running total. Decrement count. Oh, I think you need to redisplay those things too, right? Surely. So that's the function. Computer scientists, we really are focusing on the user interface. What inputs do we allow? Inputs relate to not only data like typing in a weight in that box, but also to commands. A command is a form of input. What buttons are there? What can the user do? And then secondly, the outputs. What information will be generated based upon these inputs? That's our focus. Specifications, all about the what. There are several milestones in the specifications phase. These milestones help us ensure that we are trying to use the word without using the word, that we are on track. We're on time. Milestones. The milestones in the specification phase are, first of all, the specifications document, which clearly and unambiguously lists what does a good product do, what does a good product look like and do, and for computer scientists, what are the features and functions. Now note something, specifications is not design. We are not saying or determining how the undo feature works here. We're just saying we've got an undo. We could say what it does. We could say legitimately the last thing is removed from that. You're saying, isn't that an algorithm? No, not really. And you know that too. There's something else produced in the specification phase, and that's a project planning document. We'll have to talk around this. We can't actually do it even when we do our team project, because the project planning document would list things like, how many team members do I need? How many of those members are doing the front end and the back end? How many are computer scientists? How many are other people? As students, you're not going to get to choose that, right? The project planning document would list, these are the additional resources we need. Again, we don't get to do that. It would say, here's the amount of time it will take, elapsed calendar time. And I'm sorry, you never get to spec that either, right? That comes from me, sorry. But when you're a working professional, you can. And you say, oh, great, I'm just going to say this project will be done in 10 years. Either your boss won't be happy, or if you're the boss, your company won't make any money. Project planning document. Don't forget a prototype. Prototypes are used often, continuously, throughout requirements and specifications. We refine and get better and better and better. By the time we're done with specifications, the ideal would be my user interface is what's going to be there at the very end of the project. My product is going to look like this. So 3 milestones, specifications document, project planning document, product prototype, more detail in the text. Rather than creating specifications for an app, because that's what you're actually doing, let's just think about a product that you might be familiar with. Do we think about a remote? Whoever designed this horrible thing, what specifications did they have in mind? Specifications answer the, what does a good product look like? So part of the specifications here would be the appearance of the product. Now, this is a little different because this is a physical product. But the specifications in this case include the physical appearance. Come on. Oh, well, I tried. What about the features and functions? What are the features of a remote? The features would be the outward expression, the UI, the things that any old user like you and me picking up this device can actually use and interact with. Well, when we think about this horrible thing here, not a lot of buttons. I mean, there's that ring thing there. Does that really do something, or is that on this Amazon remote? Is that just eye candy? Folks had to make lots of trade-off decisions here. Where are the buttons placed? What outward-facing features are we going to allow? I think it'd be a good mental exercise for you to just pick up whatever remote you have that's hanging around and just investigate it a little bit. What are the features? And play devil's advocate. Why isn't this feature here? Why not this? Do I have to have that? What's the Amazon digital assistant? Oh, darn. Too many. Alexa. Do I have to have that Alexa button there? Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. How else could Amazon keep track of everything you do? All right. So just as a mental exercise for yourself, or a physical one, pick up a remote and just think about the specifications there. Now, the nice thing about doing this is I don't have any idea how the function works below that. I mean, you click that up button. What's that doing? You're saying, well, it's sending a signal. Yeah, I know it's sending a signal. But we really don't know the functions that underlie that at all. So we do have to. Okay, let's see. I'm going to cover up the microphone on my phone. Hey, Siri. How many went off? Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa. Sorry. That's funny, isn't it? The document that we produced turns out to be a legally binding contract between the client and the developers. The specification document is a legally binding contract between the client and the developers. Let's define some terms again. We, software engineers, Another term for us is developer. Very common term. I'm using them interchangeably. Software engineer, developer, same thing, right? Software engineering is the management of the entire software development process. Developers, software engineers. What about the term client? There's actually a difference between a client and a user. For the most part, those two terms could be interchangeable, client and user. The subtle distinction is this: the client is the person who paid for this thing. So for example, here at Concordia University, Wisconsin, we have a vice president of business. When our accounts payable folks wanted a new software package, which they did recently, the vice president of business paid for it, approved it, and got the funds for it. Now, does he use that app? No, he does not. The folks in the accounts payable department, those are the users. So there's a subtle but sometimes important difference, right? Our apps are for users, but typically, or sometimes the user won't pay. Sometimes somebody else in the organization does, the client. In, I don't remember if it was week 1 or week 2, I mumbled just a little bit about the difference between a problem model and an opportunity model. We're very familiar with the opportunity model. That's when a company strikes out on their own, creates an app, throws it up on the App Store, and says, please download this and give me money. That's not what we're following here in this class. We're following the problem model. The problem model is somebody came to us and said, I've got a problem. I want you to fix it. The acronym doesn't mean a lot anymore. But the opportunity model is all about something called COTS. The acronym still sticks, but the letters stand for commercial off-the-shelf software. Off the shelf? Did you know there was a time when you can walk down to a brick and mortar store like Best Buy, and on the shelves would be little packages of software application packages, and inside there'd be physical media that you would then install on your machine? Yeah, I know it sounds like the dark ages. It really does. Okay. Lots of gaming systems still have this model, right? I mean, they want you to have something physical. Isn't that true? I mean, a lot of the Wii stuff is a whatever, and the other ones are something else rather than downloading, maybe. So those things are COTS. When whoever came out with Forza 29, I only play race car games, so I'm sorry, I don't know all the other things there. Whenever they came out with the latest incarnation of Forza, nobody went to them and said, hey, I'll give you money. They just developed it on their own. Yeah, physical. Yeah, there's something. Wow, somebody likes having physical stuff to pop in their game system. That's cool. Good for you. So commercial off the shelf, opportunity model. Here it is. You want it. Come and license it. I'm getting a lot of complaints about you being late for meetings. They never talk about anything important in the first 10 minutes. They're usually talking about you being late. Why would I need to be there for that? Hard to argue with Wally's logic, isn't it? All right, now, this is something you may have heard of. This is a great acronym, EULA, E-U-L-A, EULA, the End User License Agreement, the thing you never read. Yeah, they say, okay, click, yeah, click next, yeah. If you really read that, by the way, you know that you don't buy software applications. You don't buy games. You license them. A license gives you permission to do things with certain restrictions. When you read that license carefully, you'll notice one thing on the opportunity model EULA. If you take a look at Microsoft Office Suite, if you take a look at Excel or any other product in there, you'll see a number of times no warranty expressed or implied. You, user, may think that this is a spreadsheet capable of doing financial modeling. However, we, Microsoft, make no such claim and grant no guarantee of said. What? Yeah, interesting, huh? Lots of words here. But it's just telling you this is just a fairly typical license agreement provided on an as-is basis. There's no warranty, no conditions, no representations expressed or implied, right? Including all implied warranties of quality, performance, merchantability, or fitness for a particular purpose. So again, this is unfortunate, but it's happened. Businesses have put all their financial records in Microsoft Excel. And due to a horrible, crazy bug in Excel, everything has been lost. When they have attempted to sue Microsoft, the courts have adjudicated that, sorry, Microsoft said right here, we don't guarantee this for any purpose at all. We can't do that in our world. In the problem-solving model, it ain't going to come with a EULA. It comes with a specifications document that says, this product's going to do this. And if it doesn't do that, the user has some recourse. All right. So a little more detail. And again, I'll encourage you to read this in the text. What does a specification document look like? But again, client and user. These are the folks outside of us. The specification document is for the client and user. It's not just an internal document for us. It is for the client and the user. Therefore, we have to clearly and unambiguously state the functionality of the product. We have to be extremely clear, unambiguous. Ambiguous means confused or cloudy. Unambiguous is the opposite, crystal clear. If you write in the specs document, undo, it's possible the user doesn't understand that. It's possible you didn't understand that when I put it in the specs to you. Well, guess what? The user is going to question that. What does this mean? And it's fair for you to question it also. If you got an assignment from me and you don't understand what I'm asking, ask. That's software engineering. You can't read my mind. You can't make it up. What do you mean by that? This communication between client, user, developer, software engineer, very important. Here's where it gets harder. Clearly, unambiguously, and with measurable terms, list the constraints of the project. What do I mean by constraints? I mean things like a due date. I mean things like, how much will this product cost? The client or user isn't that concerned with how many software engineers will be on the job. You will be, or what resources are needed to produce it. I just want to say, hey, look, this is what this is going to do. Add numbers. And it's going to take you a week to do it, and it's going to cost me $5. Notice that 1 week and $5 are extremely measurable. They're binary. Yes, no. I'm just picking on my campus safety people. I bet campus safety people at Irvine are like really good. Campus Safety emailed Chuck Norris demanding he attend a meeting. His reply contained no text, only a single attachment, a roundhouse kick. And yes, Chuck is the only person that can mail a roundhouse kick. So Zeb confides with Zeke. You know, I swallowed some food coloring yesterday. Zeke says, oh, terrible. I had to go to the doctor. What did the doctor say? Oh, the doctor said I was okay, but I just can't help feeling that I died a little inside. I can't help feeling I died a little inside. I want you to play these back late at night and laugh along all over again. Now there's one more, but before we do that, I teased this up front. Today is an important international holiday. Do you know what it is? I'll tell you. It's Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yes, every September 19th since forever, no, since the 1990s when two guys in a garage made it up as a joke. September 19th is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Arr, the magic box sunk to Davy Jones' locker. That's pirate for the computer crashed. Okay, good. I got many of these, but we don't have time for that. Instead, I want to see if this works. One of my favorite movies of all time is Muppet Treasure Island. I know that's many of yours also. And when you stop and think about it, I look a lot like Tim Curry, don't I? I do. I take that as a compliment. Okay, are you ready? Now, if you don't know what's going on here, Muppet Treasure Island was a book written by Robert Louis Stevenson in the 19th century. It's about pirates. This is Long John Silver, Tim Curry, and some hapless folks on the ship that get taken over, including the cabin boy, Jim Hawkins. Jim has been captured by the evil pirates. Let's do it. Are you ready? Can you hear it? Up all the way.
Easy, Jim. 'Tis all in good fun. Pleased I am to initiate you into our enterprising company, which entitles you to all the benefits thereof.
But I won't want any benefits.
This is a one-time special offer, Jim lad. Say no, and I will be forced to terminate our relationship.
You're nothing but murdering pirates.
Pirates? Pirates. Oh, Jim. If that's what you're thinking, you're dead wrong. When I was just a lad, looking for my true vocation, my father said, now son, this choice deserves deliberation. Though you could be a doctor, or perhaps a financier, my boy, why not consider a more challenging career? Hey ho ho, you'll cruise the foreign shores. See you, lads. Show me you've been practicing. Out of doors. True friendship and adventure are what we can't live without. And when you're a professional pirate,
that's what the job's about.
Upstage, lads. This is my only number. Now take Sir Francis Drake. The Spanish all despise him, but to the British he's a hero and they idolize him. It's how you look at buccaneers that makes them bad or good, and I see us as members of a noble brotherhood. Hup. Hey ho ho! Oh, I love it! On the road, it's poetry in motion. And before we lose our tempers, we will always count to 10. On occasion, there may be someone you have to execute. But when you're a professional pirate,
you don't have to wear a suit.
Oh, sorry. Look at the time. you'll just have to check this out on your own. Got it? Muppet Treasure Island. That's your favorite one too? This got to be somebody else's favorite movie, right? Somebody, please. You've got to love Muppet Treasure Island. Every year, my extended family and I, we get together. We can do the entire movie from memory just by quoting lines back and forth. Okay, one more. You ready? You didn't leave, did you? Okay, good. One more. You ready? Chuck Norris once roundhouse kicked a coal mine, changing it into a diamond mine. That's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. Coal, diamond, mine. All right. Sorry, back to work. How do we create specifications? There are two ways. The first way is informal specifications. And you're saying, yeah, English, yeah, write a document. Makes perfect sense. There's a problem though. All natural languages are ambiguous. You can say one thing and two people can pick up on different things and think you said something different. Natural languages are full of ambiguity. English and all other languages are not crystal clear. You experience this, right? You read my instructions for assignment and you think I said one thing, and then you discover to your horror, I actually said something else. You've seen these true headlines, you know, the things that pop up on the online newspaper. Teacher strikes idle kids. Well, it's supposed to be teacher strikes, you know, go on strike, and the kids are idle, not striking the idle kids. Okay, that one didn't work. Biden wins on budget, more lies ahead. Of course, lies there apparently has a double meaning. Kids make nutritious snacks. In the local thing about a little, it's not W.C. Fields eating children. It's the kids themselves. Miners refuse to work after death. Death in the coal mine. The other miners said, we're not going to work until conditions improve. But you could certainly read this as miners refuse to work after their own death. Department of Natural Resources proposes seasonal catch limits on tourists. Not that you can go catch tourists, but that the tourists can't catch as many fish as residents can. And this is a classic, right? The classic one. Man hits dog on motorcycle. Well, who or what was on the motorcycle? The problem with English, like all natural languages, is it's ambiguous. There's a get well supper at the church tonight. Oh, who's sick? Nobody's sick. The pastor's well is run dry. He needs to raise money for a new one. See, we just always assume things. The problem is English, like all natural languages, imprecise, ambiguous. Folks, this is so old, but it's one of about a half dozen memes that I wish I would have come up with. Way back when, there were some products, one known as Windows CE, one known as Windows ME, the Millennium Edition, and then Windows NT. You put them all together, you get Windows Cement, as hard as a rock and as dumb as a brick. Okay, that is really funny. I want you to read in the text about some problem-solving tools that we use in the context of specifications. I'm not trained as an engineer, but I think this diagram might solve your problem. Ooh, this is brilliant. It's hard to believe you have no qualifications whatsoever. Is that sarcasm? Ignorance is underrated. I want you to look online at the text at the various diagramming tools. And in addition to knowing what they are, like a use case diagram and a data flow diagram and similar things, tuck this question away in the back of your mind. Why are these diagrams better than informal specifications? Informal is English. Okay. I think that makes perfect sense, right? The diagrams are more formal than English. They're not quite, well, they are usually referred to as semi-formal techniques, more formal than English. Sometimes they're called structured techniques. I'd like you to take a look at those online in the text. And later on, we'll be actually using those in certain circumstances, so we'll come back to review it. But if you've seen it once, it'd be very helpful, and we can say some more about it next time. I want to be sure, I want to be sure, here they are, that I leave a little bit of time such that if you had a question or two, you can ask. But let me just briefly flash in a couple of these things. A DFD, a data flow diagram. This diagram is going to focus on the logical flow of data. Surprise. How data moves, not necessarily how it's processed. Think about a roadmap. Let's see if they have one to show you. Okay, here's the syntax, not as exciting. Here's something. Now remember, these are tools used for specifications. And usually specifications for us as the software engineer or developer. We could show these things to a user, but they're really to help us organize and keep track of the features and especially the functions. The one thing you'll notice is there's no how here. It says process orders. How do I do that? How do I pull the credit status from the customer data file? It's not saying any of that. It's just showing what needs to be cared for. And that's exactly the point of a data flow diagram. Data flow diagrams can get big. Data flow diagrams can be complex. The other primary tool is a use case diagram. The use case diagram is really designed for the user point of view. It's the functionality, the feature set from the user point of view. And it's very abstract. And I bring it up because there's a convention called UML, Universal Modeling Language. And this is what's used to actually draw the diagrams. When you see the diagrams, you'd laugh because they are, come on. There's a use case diagram. The stick figure is called an actor. What can the actor do? Create documents, open documents, save documents, edit documents. From the user perspective, that's what I can do. Now, when I'm implementing it, ultimately, I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. But right now, we just want to make sure, do we have all the features necessary covered? And they can get more complex. We can have additional layers of detail there, which, well, yeah. Okay, not going to do that. So what are we doing? Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm not going to have time. Oh, yeah, we'll still have time. You got questions, stay. We're just going to go and for the 5 more minutes of class. Take a look online now at assignment 11, the next incarnation. You do not need to have an image on your form. The next incarnation of your add numbers app. So here again was what you just did in assignment 7. And now I want you to take that and add to it. So what are you going to find in sprint 3? Well, first of all, make sure it does everything required and spec'd in sprint 2. So if yours wasn't perfect, then make it perfect. Now add the following. Number 1, trap for invalid input. Whoa, I already did that. You trapped for erroneous input, like an A. What's invalid input? Let me give you 2 examples. Number 1, a negative weight. In the vast majority, I think everybody's, but I want to qualify that. In the vast majority of apps, I typed in -1, and you dutifully added that. No, -1 is incorrect. Another invalid input would be 0. There is nothing that weighs either a negative amount or a 0 amount. Secondly, implement a save and print feature. Save, that part of the feature will be actually implemented in sprint 4. Don't worry about that now. Print, so now when the user says save and print, a new feature, I guess you need a new button somewhere. That will pop up a window. It will list the total weight and the count of shims. So this pop-up window is simulating printing out something. After the user selects save and print, the running total and count will be cleared. It will be reset. It's like doing that clear reset function. Prevent user input and output fields. Investigate the form. Don't allow the user to click their cursor into one of the output fields and start typing things. And then implement the help menu. Some of you did this already. You're way ahead of the game. So before, all you had to do is have a menu item. Now you need to actually have it give some help. That's not what we're doing. This is homework assignment 11. Assignment 11, I intend to have due by Monday, a week from today. Assignment 9, Fred Brooks, I would like to do the end of the week. I know we're not meeting on a Friday, but the end of this week. So those 2 will be updated, along with I will make visible the exam study guide. Take a look online at Blackboard and just take a look at the specifications and requirements for, oops, I can't do this. I cannot. Hello, Blackboard. Okay, do that. Oops, where'd it go? Blackboard died. Darn. Okay. Do you have any questions or comments? Anything in general? I'll hang around afterwards and see if you have a specific question, but any questions, comments, or concerns in general in the last whopping 1 minute of class? Me neither. All right, folks, let me stop the recording right now. If you'd like to chat with me, I'd be happy